Okay, well, good morning, everybody. And I see I don't have any viewers right at the moment, but so that's fine because, as we were saying, this is asynchronous too, right? So we're going to do the recording and talk to you about the course and talk to you about what I hope you'll get done between today, the end of today, and start of class on Thursday, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and switch on over to our slide. So welcome to biostatistics, right? This is BI311, and this is the first time I've run this in the spring semester, so we'll see how things go, right? And just for a little bit of overview, right? What is statistics? Statistics can be defined as the science of collecting, organizing, and interpreting data. Statistics has been revolutionized by the introduction of computers, and so some people would say that statistics now is also about the science of creating algorithms for analyzing data. But statistics is even more useful besides thinking about the computers in terms of how to think about data, how to think about how you test hypotheses from your experiments and your observations and whatnot. Statistics is a necessary part of your working on science, right? And so biostatistics then is a subdiscipline of statistics. It's about data analysis in biology. Okay, so on Canvas, I've just updated the syllabus and the schedule, so clearly I want you to go through and take a look at that. There's an assignment for you to basically look through the syllabus and find components of the syllabus and report those. What that does, of course, is get you, on track with what the expectations are for the course, but it also then gives you how do I put this, a little practice doing work with Canvas, right? Okay, so some of the things that you need to be aware of, the expectations are there's homework, and the homework's required. The homework can take you a while to do. It involves using statistical reasoning, doing a little bit of problem work, and yes, it'll include using your computers. Okay. Accompanying those homeworks are quizzes. The quizzes are designed to test your knowledge at the time about the concepts. They collectively, homework and quizzes, don't account for much of your total grade. They're about 25% of your total grade. So the goal of homeworks and quizzes is not to be perfect. The goal is to use those to support your understanding of the material so that you do well on the exams. 4 exams in the course. With this following caveat, to learn statistics, the best way to do it is to have your own data. So we have a small class size. I think if I check the enrollment, we have just the 4 of you. And so I really want to encourage you to work with me over the next couple of weeks to figure out, based on your interests, if we can come up with a good data project for you that has some statistical meat to it. And you'll find that your understanding will grow tremendously if you do your own project. But I'm going to make it an option, right? So the straightforward way is just to plan on taking all 4 exams. Excuse me. But if you do the project, which we'll work on over the course of the semester, you won't have to take exam 4. One of the advantages of doing the online course during this pandemic is that I can sip my coffee and clear my throat. All right. Next slide. Okay, so just a little bit about homework. So homework, 10 homeworks, and you're going to find them in Mike's Workbook for Biostatistics. Mike's Workbook for Biostatistics is its own website. So let's see if I can show you that. Well, we'll do that here in a moment. Okay, so Quizzes, the quizzes that accompany the homework and the readings, those will be delivered via Canvas. And for the most part, I think all of the questions are either true, false, or multiple choice. And the advantage of doing that is it's a good way to get you, sort of the knowledge base, the fact base about the course and about the material, and it gives you Canvas. Then I can use it to do immediate feedback. If we do short answers, I have to read those, which obviously is not a problem, but it takes longer, and so that's the idea of the quizzes. Okay. Exams, again, 4 exams, and so starting, basically at the beginning of when this pandemic hit us and we had forced to go online and whatnot, I've elected to make exams take home. All right, so you have up to a week to complete. They're true, false, multiple choice, and so you hint, those are coming from the quizzes. They're coming directly from the quizzes and the homework. And then there are short answer. Now the short answer part is maybe a little bit disarming, or disarming, that's not the right word, but deceiving, because it's likely that it's going to involve some work by you, right? It's not just simply a matter of answering the questions. I may have you do some problems, right? And so the advantage of doing the take home is that I can give you ample time to work on these things rather than constrained within the, the course allotment of time of an hour and 10 minutes. All right. The other part about it, though, is I'm going to have to warn you. If you search Google for answers to my exam questions, you're going to likely not get them right. First of all, I already know what you're looking for. The other is that, of course, the questions come from your readings. In other words, they come from my 2 books, and we'll explain those here in a bit. So the temptation is to try to search through Google when you do a take-home, and I'm trying to, I can't stop you, but I'm warning that that's not a good strategy. Okay, so the resources. There's 3 resources for the course. All of them, of course, are free to you. You've already paid your IT fee, so that's how you have access to Canvas, right? Okay. Then I have provided you with 2 fairly large websites full of content about the course, and those are, of course, free. And they're separate from Chaminade. I run these independently. I've been teaching this course since before I came to Chaminade, and so I've been building this since 2003. So yeah, right? Lots of stuff. Okay, so let's talk about your textbook. Your textbook is called Mike's Biostatistics Book. Not the most imaginative title ever, but the website link is biostatistics.letgen.org. Letgen.org is my personal and research website, and so if you forget the link, well, one of the things you could do is just search Google for Mike's Biostatistics Book, and that'll pop up for you. Obviously, there are links in Canvas to Mike's Biostatistics Book, but you also could just simply, if you remember my website at LetGen, which stands for Laboratory of Environmental Toxicology and Genomics, so LetGen, and then you go to the teaching link and you'll find the supporting materials for Mike's courses, and you'll find direct links to Mike's statistics book. Okay, so that's the cover that you're going to look for. All right, there's 20 chapters plus an appendix, and the book's a work in progress. So some of the chapters are more fully developed than others. Some of them are quite short, some of them are a little bit long. And so what we do is I provide lectures, right? I go over the chapters, but I kind of skip through the pieces of information that I want you to learn, for your 4 exams. So while we're going to cover practically the whole book, okay, some of them we cover in more depth than others. So for example, chapter 1 has very little in it. It's just introducing the book itself. Chapter 2 introduces you to statistics and biostatistics. And then beginning with chapter 3, that's the actual statistics. We start talking about descriptive statistics, the mean, the average, standard deviation. Chapter 4 talks about graphics, how to show your statistics, how to show your data, and from there on. Exam 2 is only 2 chapters, but they're pretty big topics. So chapter 6 is about probabilities and distributions, sampling distributions, theoretical distributions, right? And then chapter 7 introduces you to a significant component of epidemiology called risk analysis. Risk analysis is based on the idea of conditional probability. Given a positive reading from a diagnostics test, there's a positive result. Does that mean that the person has the condition? And the answer is, well, maybe, with certain probability. So we can talk about things called true positives and false positives. So this is a chapter that I encourage a lot of thinking about, because clearly in the pandemic, the key to getting out of this pandemic is having good testing in place. But we have a variety of testing approaches ranging from PCR, which is very, very precise, has high sensitivity and high specificity, and so that's the gold standard. But the problem is that PCR results take a couple of days to get back, right? And so we know that a person can spread SARS-CoV-2 virus within the first few days of being exposed, well through the full length of the illness, right? And so if it takes a couple of days to get the test back, it may be too late to use that as a way of helping manage someone who's infected, right? And so the rapid tests based on antibodies, you get results back in an instant, but they can't tell whether or not the person is infective or not. All they can show is that somebody's been exposed to it. And so this could be somebody who was exposed, got sick, or maybe didn't even have any symptoms and has since gotten over it. Okay, so the antibodies are still present, but doesn't tell you whether or not they are going to get sick. It doesn't tell you, but it's helpful for identifying people who have been exposed, right? So there's a balance between that. And so chapter 7 is about risk analysis. And so couldn't come at a better time, right, to learn about epidemiology. Okay. Exam 3 covers a number of chapters, but this is sort of the heart of what are called parametric statistics. We're talking about t-tests and an analysis of variance. And then also chi-square tests, which are non-parametric. But those are typical kinds of statistics that you've already used in your courses, but perhaps didn't know why, right? And so that's why you're taking this course. And that's why this biostatistics course is required of biology majors at Chaminade. We're trying to help you understand how to analyze experimental results. Okay, and then the final exam covers advanced analysis of variance experimental designs. It covers linear regression. It covers multiple regression. It covers correlation analysis. And so homeworks will help you with that, but that between chapters 8 through 18, that's what you need for a classic training in statistics. Okay, so the workbook is assigned to help you do problems in biostats. And so there's 10 homeworks that accompany the chapters, basically 3 through 18. It says 1 through 18, but that's because I don't have it listed, but there's several training modules in Mike's workbook for biostatistics. The training is to help you learn how to work with R, the statistical package that I'm going to ask you to work with. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do between today and the start of class on Thursday is I want you to go to Mike's Biostatistics book, and I want you to read chapter 1, and then in the appendix there's instructions about how to install R. So in other words, I want you to install a free software program. Okay, it's the rproject.org, and it's our statistical software. Okay. There's tons of help within Mike's Biostatistics book on how to install R. Mac people, you're going to have a little bit of some details you're going to have to pay attention to. So these are spelled out in the install R sections of my book. Okay. And obviously on Thursday, I'm going to want you to hook up with me particularly if you're having problems with it, so that we can get your computer set up. Couple of additional points. Okay, so R is the base package, and then the way R works is to add functionality to it. You install software packages, and so the one that I want you to install as quickly as you can is a package called R Commander, or RCMDR for short. And what this provides is a graphical user interface so that you can point and click your way through doing the statistics that we are showing you how to use and interpret and whatnot. Okay, you may already know about RStudio, which is also a user interface, but it's a programming user interface. And so while it's where you'd want to go eventually, okay, it's not a appropriate package for the way I'm presenting the course. And so if you've already got it installed, don't worry about it, but we're not going to use it. We're going to use R and the base pack, or the software package called R Commander. All right, so this is the website, and of course within my book there are links to those sites as well. Okay, you're setting your computer up to do data analysis. Okay, so there's a variety of approaches to this, but one of the things to think about is that you need a good spreadsheet application. Spreadsheets are useful for organizing your data. Okay, and so if you already have a full-blown version of Microsoft Office, you're good to go. If you're trying to limp by using, free versions like the online version, or if you're trying to use a subscription based and you're running out of time for the free and stuff, the alternative actually is to download an open source Office package called LibreOffice. The spreadsheet is called Calc, and it's basically the same as Microsoft Office. Okay, we'll show you a little bit about how to use it and stuff, but in addition to that, it includes a word processor, an alternative to Word, drawing applications, presentations, so in place of PowerPoint, and then of course a spreadsheet called Calc. Okay, you can also of course use Google Sheets, but here's why I recommend you download the free LibreOffice. There's an advantage of having software installed on your computer. And that advantage is, of course, is that you don't have to have an internet connection. And so R doesn't require an internet connection. Your spreadsheet shouldn't require an internet because you want to access the spreadsheet to do your data analysis. So it's nice to have a lockdown computer that has everything that you need, and the only thing that you don't have, of course, is internet access. All right, so Google Sheets is okay, but again, that requires internet access, so be aware of that. But I support all three of Excel, Sheets, and Calc. Many of you have an installation of Apple's spreadsheet called Numbers, and that's fine, but I don't support it. The reason is that Apple does things its own way, and so some of the commands are quite different from Excel or Sheets or Calc. And so, look, there's only so much time in the day, and so I can support basic things. So if you really know what you're doing with numbers, no problem. There's no requirement to learn these different software. What I'm suggesting is that in order to get through the course, you're going to want to have access to R, the statistical software, and you're going to want to have a halfway decent spreadsheet available to you. Okay? All right, so just to sort of reiterate this, this isn't a course about your computer. The computer is there to help you with your work. Some of the statistical questions I'll ask don't require a computer at all, right? They're just sort of whatever's floating through your brain waves at that point, right? Statistical reasoning doesn't mean that you have to know how to calculate particular statistics, but it does mean that you have to be aware how to interpret the output of statistical results. And so on exams, for example, there'll be statistical output for you to work through, right? To interpret, to pick out the pieces of information that we need. So the advantage of having R installed on your computer is that you'll gain practice to producing the analyses, and so you'll gain practice on knowing how to do that, but you'll also then, of course, gain practice about the interpretation as well. Now, this is a little bit misleading. We do have a couple of older MacBooks now that can't be updated to Catalina, let alone the latest operating system. They were new back in 2010, 2011, but you can run R on these. And so if you're absolutely desperate for a laptop, we may be able to loan you one. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you're thinking that if you only have a tablet, for example, like an iPad or something, you can install software like spreadsheets or the R software onto that. Now, there's some ways, because you're connected to the internet, that you can run R through the cloud. There are ways, of course, you can access Google Sheets through your tablet. That's not the issue. But your experience with this approach using a tablet or oh my goodness, you're going to try to do this through your phone, is not going to be a good one, right? You need a computer or a laptop to do the work. So anyway, all of this is talked about in my book, and it's particularly outlined in the R install sections, right? Okay. So I'm going to try to sell you a little bit about what you're going to gain from this. Like I said, the point of biostatistics BI311 is not to test you on your knowledge of R. That'll come with working through the material. You'll gain experience, you'll gain knowledge about this. And so at the end of the semester, you'll have some skills of using this software. And so I just kind of wanted to point out, you probably know better than I that we've kind of moved to what's called a gig economy, right? Where you sort of work your way through your career, not by having one job, but maybe having lots of jobs where you contract to do a set amount of work, and then you turn the work in, and then you're done. So after this semester, you'll have enough skills that you can go to a place like 5RR and freelance to do some basic data analytics kinds of things. So, I just looked at searched data analysis, and so the skills that people list are being able to do, just basic Excel things, Google Sheets, Jupyter Notebook. So we'll talk a little bit about those. Those are ways of running software programs like Python or R in the cloud. And so we'll touch bases on that just a little bit. And then, of course, here's R, right? And so indicating that there's a number of people who are selling themselves as having basic skills in these things. And so no more skills than what you'll have at the end of the semester. Okay, so that's all I've got for today. Okay, so I will post this to our website and I will see you on Thursday. See you metaphorically, because we're going to do a repeat of this. It's an asynchronous presentation. All right, but I welcome you to join me online at 10 o'clock on Thursday.